Hi, I'm Joe Connors, and this is Dr. David Connors. We're here today to answer the eternal question that's facing guitar players and musicians of all types with strings and frets. When is it a good time to change my strings? This guitar here, you've brought this out as an example of a guitar that may be due. It might be ready for a string change.
Yes, indeed. Well, the simplest thing to look for is discoloration in your strings. So if you look here, at first glance it looks all good, but if you take a fresh string and you can compare it here, it's quite a bit brighter and cleaner. So discoloration. Now at home you most likely don't have a fresh string to compare with, so if you look down at the machine heads where it winds, often the finger oils don't go on the strings there, and you can see the bright clean color of the orange there and the discolored darkened string. So this will result in a dead tone or a muted tone. Now, one thing you can feel for is if you take the D string, one of the wound strings, and you run your finger underneath it, often you can feel the fret bumps. That is increased wear on the bottom of the string and can result in tuning and intonation issues.
What causes the discoloration?
Well, it's the oils in your fingers, and some people have more oils than others, but these oils corrode and oxidize the string, so that's what causes the discoloration.
I think I've heard you use the term before, finger cheese.
Yes, that is an excessive amount of oils and often dead skin cells.
So if there's a buildup of dead skin cells underneath on the strings, or if the metal-on-metal contact has caused wear, those are two great ways to check and to confirm that your guitar is probably due for new strings.
Most definitely will result in negative tone.
Negative tone. Some people wait until their strings break before they change them. They think that if the strings are on the guitar, I can still tune it, I can still play it, I can get away with it.
There's no argument against that. If you feel like that's good enough for your tone and it feels fine to you, that's fine. But most people don't realize that the tone has diminished on their guitar, and that's where we really cross that road. Most people think, this sounds like the day I bought it, but then when you actually get that fresh set of strings on there, it livens right up and you realize, wow, I didn't realize how bad my guitar was starting to sound.
Can it cause your guitar to get out of tune?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We covered that briefly in the denting on the frets and the wear there, but even just the muting and the finger cheese can cause tuning issues as well.
What would you say is the average life of a set of guitar strings?
Well, depending on the amount of playing hours, for some people it's only a couple weeks, and for others, it could be 3 to 6 months.
Are there choices of string that help you get a longer life?
There are coated strings like Dodero EXP strings or Elixir. All of these result in extended play, which is typically 3 to 5 times longer than the average string.
So ultimately, it's one thing to check. Is restringing your guitar something that most people can do at home?
Many people are confident, and if you feel like you want to tackle it, I do have a video outlining how to restring your guitar. And that's a good cost-effective way of saving money by just having to buy the strings and not pay for the labor. Now, one thing we're doing is a restringing clinic. And in this restring special, we're actually going to include the setup of the guitar at no extra charge.
So you get, what's a setup on a guitar? What does that mean for a setup?
Well, when we do a setup, we'll look at neck relief, adjust the truss rod, we'll look at the nut and whether it's properly cut, and whether the strings are seated properly, as well as examining the saddle for wear or damage, and adjust the height of the saddle accordingly. So that's on an acoustic guitar. On an electric guitar, we'll actually get into adjusting the intonation of the individual string saddles.
So if you have a guitar that's not set up properly, you could be playing it to the best of your ability, but it might be not your fault, but the guitar's fault.
Absolutely.
That you're not playing your best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, ultimately, I think there you have it. Really important. Make sure that you check your strings, check your guitar's playability. For those who aren't comfortable doing their own labor on their guitars, restringings and setups, any one of the restringing specials at Connors Music is a great chance to take advantage of that and give your guitar the love it deserves. I'm going to say this properly. I think it's fair to say, stay bronze, Georgina.
Ooh.